Good morning, my dear friends. In May, we do a lot of things in the garden, especially planting various plants in flower beds and pots. And today I would like to tell you what will appear in my pots on the terrace. But these are also plants that will wonderfully fill empty spaces in various flower beds and will look beautiful throughout the season. So let's begin. 4 plants that will really transform your garden. Friends, have you subscribed to this channel yet? I can see in the statistics that you watch, but you don't always subscribe. I recommend subscribing because when you do, you'll get a notification as soon as a new video appears. And for me, it's a kind of reward for what I do and for showing you all of this. If there's an option, I also recommend sharing this channel somewhere. I would really appreciate it. A plant that really has a chance to become a garden hit is Calibrachoa. Some people call it Surfinia or Petunia, but it's more like a distant cousin. A slightly different plant, Calibrachoa, also known as million bells. Beautiful small flowers in such large cascades. A great plant that is native to South America. It grows in such bushy areas. There it's a short-lived perennial, a sub-shrub. Here it's treated as an annual plant. Perfect for filling flower beds and perfect for creating arrangements with it. It tolerates pruning very well, so if you trim it a bit every 3 to 4 weeks, a lot of new flowers will appear. It's also worth remembering that it needs slightly acidic soil. Maybe not too much, but slightly. From time to time you can use an acidifying fertilizer or add a bit of acidic soil. Snapdragon. This is another plant that will complement my flower beds this year and will be one of the main plants in the pots. It just so happened that I'm going for warm colors like pinks, oranges and some white accents because I picked all the ones in those shades. Snapdragon is a very rewarding plant that actually blooms throughout the entire season. What's more, if you plant it in flower beds in warmer parts of Poland, it will be a perennial, so you could call it a perennial plant. For several seasons now, I've had places where these snapdragons actually bloom every year from last year's plants, so it's a great plant that will also fill out our garden. And look, it has a completely different shape and form than this Calibrachoa. To confirm what I said about going for warm colors, here's another plant that doesn't have very spectacular flowers this time, but it does have fantastic leaves. The flowers do appear as well, but later on, and they're less spectacular. Painted nettle, as some people call it. Look, once again I was driving past a gardener, and once again I stopped, and once again I couldn't resist. What wonderful colors. Look, beautiful veining, a beautiful pattern on the leaves, various shapes and various colors. From those that are very speckled with a maroon underside to dark ones, even deep eggplant colored ones, they look amazing. They will grow well and make a nice color accent. It's a bit of a break from those powdery colors because here is one, but there's a bit more intensity, and they will also work great with these plants because both Coleus, Calibrachoa and Snapdragon all like the sun. But I also have a 4th plant which is in a completely different color and will serve as an accent, and of course it also likes the sun. I fell in love with it years ago and it appears in my garden every year because it's amazing. The next plant is a real stunner. Look at this fantastic intense color and that shape, those long flower spikes. This is Salvia variety Misty, which really works great in flower beds and also in pots. But you have to remember to water it regularly and to provide it with the right amount of moisture. We don't overwater it, but the right level of moisture is highly recommended. It's a plant that blooms for a very long and intense period. And this color really stands out from deep within the flower bed. I can't wait to see how nicely it grows, together with the Snapdragon, which also has a similar form. And somewhere in between those Coleuses, that's real energy, which is what I'm going for this year, and which I'll show you in a moment in some arrangements, because we'll make a few examples of arrangements together using these plants. Dear friends, I've prepared the pots. I like to work in such groups, in sets. Here there are actually 3 different sizes, but I'll add some other sizes to these pots later. And now I would like to show you different combinations of just these plants. Considering that, for example, Calibrachoa grows a lot and it needs more space, and it also trails nicely. So in the tallest pot I'll put it here as the main plant, and only here and there those extras will appear in between. However, in these lower pots I'll make different arrangements. I'll mix sage, I'll mix Snapdragon, I'll add a bit of Coleus, and all of this together will make up the main group. It's worth remembering that when you're making such decorations and you have several of the same pots, you can use a variety of flowers as the base. You can make different arrangements, but if you have, for example, 4 types of plants in the same pots, that also looks interesting, and it looks different again. If you plant the same flowers in different pots and then I'll plant some more, I'll actually make an example with another pot and we'll arrange it all nicely together. I'll get to work. First, this big pot, Calibrachoa plus sage. I think I'll add this Snapdragon because it looks great here. And here we have it, my friends, an arrangement of these plants in pots of different sizes. I also made some single pots with sage and coleus, and this kind of arrangement will look great on the terrace or on the balcony, very vibrant and sun-loving. Take a look. Different heights of these pots, and basically the same plants, repeated in different forms, not in every pot. Because here, for example, we don't have sage, we don't have coleus. Over there we have coleus again, we don't have another plant, and here is Calibrachoa and sage. And it all goes together nicely, it all works together. Let me know in the comments if you like these kinds of combinations where there's a lot of variety in the structures, forms and interesting colors. And an important note, when you plant coleus, other plants that are very fragile. It's worth planting them a little deeper than they were in the nursery pots. And in a moment I'll do another example with a different pot, a green one on legs, which will go well together with these pots. And I'll put it here next to them, and you can tell me whether it's nice to make such a mix of pots or if it's better to have pots all in one color. For my classic green pot on legs, which I've had for several years now, I added the same plants, Coleus, sage and Snapdragon. In my opinion, it turned out pretty well. And I have a question for you. Will a green pot like this match with these beige ones? Should I add and mix them together? Of course I can make more of these green pots because I still have some. And I'll do that too, but I can plant them. Arrange them so that there are only green ones and only beige ones, or mix them. Let me know, mix or separate. Let me know in the comments, and see you in the next video.